Fix Network transmission. In 3, 2, 1.
Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean casting nets, fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
It is a podcast. Hello, welcome to the Fish Nerds. Clay Groves here. Another episode of National Podcast Posting Month. I thought this time maybe start with a story and then get into just one way of using this story to catch more fish. So I'm going to do it. But if you want to participate in National Podcast Posting Month, I need like 7 or 8 more fishing tips. So send them in to 607-378-FISH or record it and email it to clay@fishnerds.com and we'll get you on the podcast. I'd like to have your voice instead of mine on the show this month. So get it into us. Let's talk about bluefish. Yeah, one of my favorite fish as a kid to catch was bluefish. And the first time I ever saw a bluefish or even heard of a bluefish, we were at the Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I say Cape May because I went to high school in Cape May. And then we were at Cape Cod, Massachusetts with my grandparents at the beach one day. And I was swimming in the water. The tide was kind of slacked a little bit, kind of going out. And there was a little island next to me. I'm having a great time swimming. And all of a sudden, I noticed thousands and thousands of little fish swimming around me. We called them pogies at the time. And I don't know what the other names for them are, but I'm going to call them pogies. If you know, send it in. We'll correct it. We're coming in thousands and thousands of them all over me. And it was really fun because I could just pick them up out of the water. They're crashing into me. And I was like, man, this is great. I think I was like 8 years old or 9 years old. And I was having a blast catching these pogies with my hands. And they're, when I say pogies, they're about the size of my hand. They're not tiny fish, but they're, for the ocean, they're not that big. And then I noticed blood in the water everywhere around me. And then I just started catching pogies that were like bitten in half. And I was confident that Jaws was in the water with me and I was going to die. So it was a little island that was sticking up just above the surface of the water. It had about 2 feet of exposed rock. And so I climbed up on it and the water was boiling all around me with these pogies getting blasted out of the water, blood everywhere. It was like, I thought piranhas were there. I thought, I'm going to die today. And a guy in a little sunfish sailboat came in, paddled to me, and put me on a boat and brought me to the beach. And then I thought, oh, that was awesome. Started talking to some locals, and it turns out it was a giant school of bluefish were chasing in these pogies. So we ran down the beach to where the rock piles were, and sure enough, these pogies were everywhere, and here's how people were fishing for them. And this is, by the way, this works for all kinds of fishing. If you see this happening with any kind of species of fish, this big fishing thing was happening. It was the guys who were out there. They were jigging up pogies on freshwater fishing rods. Some were netting them out, but most were just catching them on fishing rods, putting them on a hook, on a bigger hook, tossing it in, and catching these huge bluefish. And it was like as fast as they could pull the pogies out and put them on a hook, they were catching a bluefish right afterwards. It was like aerobic fishing, and it was so fun to watch. And they would catch these big bluefish, hit them with a club, and then do it again. Catch, club, bait, fish, catch, club, bait, fish, boom, 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 and catching these fish. And it was amazing and fun to watch. And then later I got a chance to try it. One of them let me borrow his rod, caught my first bluefish, took it home, ate it, loved it. Bluefish are delicious. People complain about them. They are wonderful fish to eat, and I was hooked on bluefish fishing. But that's a really simple way to bait fish for them. And then I moved to New Jersey from after that, and we started ditching school when I was in high school to go blue fishing, and we would just sit on the jetties all day with a hunk of dead fish on the line and wait for the blues to come in. And when they came in, it was a frenzy, but sometimes you wait for hours and hours. So the luxury of having a boat would make it a little easier because you can drive around, look for those places where the water's boiling with a feeding frenzy happening, and then go and catch them. But sometimes you're stuck with what you got, and you got to wait for those fish to come in because they are not going to stick around. They are, is pelagic the right word? They travel around in these big schools. So there it is. That is almost a blue fishing tip. The big tip here is be in the right place, the right time, the right bait. All right. If you've got a better tip, please, and I'm sure you do, send that in to clay@fishnerds.com, and we'll get it here on the podcast for you. National Podcast Posting
Month. Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean casting nets, fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
Just for the halibut.
Fried in a basket or broiled in a pan. Eat it raw like you're in Siam. Fish nerds. Fish Fish Nerds. Fish Nerds. It's a podcast.